I've never believed in marriage. As the founder and CEO of a tech company, I've always been in control of my own life. And I'd long since decided that most of my assets would go to my nephew Toby, who'd been close to me since he was a kid. The day I got my physical report back, I felt a strange unease in my chest. On the way home, I casually asked Toby, "If your aunt really had cancer, what would you do?" To my surprise, Toby didn't cry. He wasn't even shocked. Instead, he grinned like he'd just won the lottery. "That's amazing. That means I get the money early, like a ton of it." I froze on the sidewalk. I could hear something in me crack, sharp and quiet like glass. It didn't take long for the rest of the family to hear about it. Vanessa, my sister-in-law, went ballistic. She screamed that if I really decided to get treatment, I'd be burning through her son's future. If it were me, I'd just slam my head into a wall and be done with it. "What's the point of fighting?" she shrieked at me. My brother Eric just shrugged. "Claire, don't drag this out. Cancer's cancer. You should accept it." "And my mother, Donna?" She called my boyfriend Nathan directly. "All that money she has. It belongs to my son. You still have time to walk away." I remember the sun was shining so brightly that day, but inside I felt nothing but ice. The only silver lining? The report had been a mistake. The one with cancer wasn't me, it was Vanessa. "We're very sorry. There was an error when inputting your information. Your test results were accidentally swapped with Vanessa Morgan's. You just have a minor ovarian cyst. Nothing serious. But the one with cancer is Vanessa." The doctor's voice was calm, but that last sentence hit me like a dull, heavy nail straight to the chest. "If she doesn't start treatment soon," he added, "she may only have a few months left." I didn't feel relief. I just stood there, stunned, staring out the exam room door. Toby was still bouncing around the hallway, swinging a box of Ultraman toys, his face lit up with innocent glee. He was only 7. If Vanessa were truly gone, what would happen to him? On the way home, he wouldn't stop whining about going to Target for a new toy. Refused to go straight home. I didn't have the energy to argue. My mind was spinning anyway, so I figured, whatever, let's go to the store. While he was poking through the shelves, I decided to gently probe him. "Hey Toby, what if Aunt Claire really got sick? Like really sick? What would you do?" I braced for tears. A question like that should terrify a kid his age. Instead, his eyes sparkled. He practically jumped with excitement, clapping his hands. "That means I get to spend all your money." A sharp buzz rang in my head. My vision blurred for a second. Blood rushed to my face. I've always been firm in my choice not to marry. I built my first company in my early 30s and made my first million before I even had time to think about kids. Over the years, my name landed on every rising entrepreneur list in the country. My wealth multiplied year after year. No spouse. No children. Very few people I'd ever let close except Toby. I treated him like my own. Every holiday I took him on trips. Paid for private school. My lawyer even had it in writing. If anything happened to me, every cent of my estate would go to that boy. But I never told anyone that, not even Toby. Especially not Eric or Vanessa. I knew the moment they found out, it'd be like handing them the key to a vault they'd been circling for years. I crouched down, holding back the rage in my chest, and looked Toby in the eye. "Why would you say something like that?" He blinked, totally unbothered, his voice sweet and flat. "Because Mom said so. You're not married, you don't have kids, and you're always living in our house. That money's ours. If you die sooner, I get it sooner." 7 years old, and those words stabbed into me like an ice pick. It wasn't his fault. Vanessa had spoon-fed that poison to him so deeply it had seeped into his bones. I let out a slow, bitter laugh inside. Had I not done enough for them? For 5 years they'd been living in the big house I bought. Said it was temporary but never left. I even paid the utility bills. Eric refused to work. Vanessa wouldn't lift a finger. She stayed home playing cards and binging TV, while I, the childless career woman, was the one changing Toby's diapers and packing his school lunches. I enrolled him in robotics programs, music classes. I paid for everything, even his baby formula. I did it all because I thought, if I just gave enough, maybe they'd learn to appreciate it. To appreciate me. Even this time, when I thought I had cancer, I was ready to spend everything I had making sure Vanessa got the best doctors, the best treatments. Even if it couldn't save her, I wanted her to have more time. For Toby. But now I saw it for what it really was. I'd been funding a pack of ungrateful parasites. Toby tugged on my sleeve, pointing at a video game console priced over $1,000. He looked up at me with a smug grin. I want this one, Auntie. Buy it now, or I'll scream and cry right here on the floor. If this had been before, maybe I would have laughed and pulled out my card. This time I stared coldly into his eyes. You want something? Go cry to your mom, you little devil. My voice was low, each word clipped and sharp. For the first time he froze. I turned, pushed the cart toward the exit and didn't look back. He stayed behind, just standing there, staring at me in disbelief as I walked away. That day I learned something I should have known a long time ago. You feed a wolf long enough, it doesn't become family. It just gets bold enough to bite. When I got home, Toby was in full meltdown mode, screaming, throwing anything his little hands could grab. The living room echoed with the crash of broken toys and shattered tempers. I didn't say a word. Just grabbed my keys and left for the office. My head was already drowning in bigger problems. How was I going to tell them? That Vanessa had cancer? I didn't plan to hide it. But I also knew, once the truth came out, the entire tone of this family was going to shift like a storm wind. Before I could even figure out how to break the news, my phone rang. It was my mother. It's bad. Vanessa says she's getting a divorce. Get home now, she shrieked. In the background, I heard the sharp crash of glass and what sounded like a banshee wailing. My scalp prickled with unease. Well, that was convenient. When I stepped through the front door, I nearly passed out. The place looked like a tornado had spun through it. Throw pillows, picture frames, every little object from the coffee table was airborne or in pieces. Even my carefully curated ceramic art collection was smashed to dust. Vanessa was collapsed on the floor, sobbing so hard her body jerked. Eric was crouched beside her like she was a toddler mid-tantrum, his voice clumsy and shaky as he tried to soothe her. There, sweetheart. Please calm down, it's gonna be okay. I was ready to explode, until my mother rushed over and grabbed my wrist, her eyes wide with fake concern. Claire, are you sick? She asked urgently. I blinked. You mean the health report? Yeah. Just a little thing, I replied calmly. The moment the words left my mouth, the fake warmth drained from her face like someone flipped a switch. Her gaze turned calculating. Are you planning to get treatment? She asked, her voice dropping 2 full octaves, probing, measuring. Vanessa's sobs stopped. She looked up. Eric turned around slowly, his face pale with tension. 3 sets of eyes locked onto me like I was a check about to bounce. I frowned. Of course I am. The earlier you intervene, the better the odds, right? The second I said it, Vanessa exploded. She snatched a glass vase from the table and hurled it straight at my head. I didn't even have time to flinch. The vase shattered midair and a jagged shard of glass sliced open my leg. Blood soaked through my sock instantly. I gasped and grabbed the arm of the couch to steady myself, teeth clenched against the pain. I looked around in disbelief. None of them moved. My mother stood way off to the side, staring at me like I was a problem she didn't want to solve. Vanessa broke down sobbing again as if someone had just robbed her life savings. I knew it, she wailed. Toby told me you might have cancer and I just knew our family was doomed. She slapped a paper on the table. It was the medical report. Her hand trembled as she pointed at me. Claire, I'm not unreasonable. But cancer is a death sentence. And if you go through treatment, you'll burn through all that money, my son's future. Her voice rose to a shrill, piercing screech. If you dare spend that money on yourself, I swear I'll divorce your brother. Don't push me to go nuclear. Had she been drinking? Or was this just her natural state, delusional and greedy in daylight? I wasn't even sick. The diagnosis wasn't mine. And she was already planning my funeral budget? I looked down at the damp, crinkled test result on the coffee table. Vanessa had clearly misread it. She thought I was the one who'd gotten the bad news. And here she was, unraveling in real time, calculating assets, threatening divorce, and basically running her "die quietly or else" campaign. A smile twisted at the corner of my mouth. Well, this just got interesting. Eric let out a heavy sigh, as if mourning a fate that had already been sealed. Claire, this kind of illness, there's probably no saving you, he said, his tone dripping with resigned finality. Sitting cross-legged on the carpet, Toby suddenly threw his game console onto the floor with a loud crack. He scrambled to his feet and ran up to me, staring up with wide, eager eyes. Aunt Claire, when are you gonna die? I already made a list of all the toys I want to buy. A ringing sound filled my ears. My chest tightened. They all believed it. That I had cancer. But more than that, they weren't worried or grieving. They were hopeful. Hopeful I'd give up soon so the resources could be reallocated. I clenched my fists to keep my anger in check and turned to Vanessa, my voice disturbingly calm. Vanessa, I've always believed I've done more than enough for this family. But let me ask you, if you were the one with cancer, would you seek treatment? She smoothed her hair, straightening up like she was about to deliver a TED Talk. If it were me? Absolutely not. No point wasting money. If you've got cancer, the responsible thing is to check out early and not drag anyone down with you. People who keep fighting and burning through resources, they're just selfish. As if to prove her point, she reached under the couch and pulled out a pill bottle, shaking it in front of my face like it was some kind of trophy. Claire, if you want to prove you're not that kind of selfish person, then be decisive. Take these. We'll make sure your funeral's beautiful. We'll even do a sea burial just like you always wanted. I'll scatter your ashes myself. Wouldn't that be lovely? Her voice grew more excited with every word, like she was planning a destination wedding, not my hypothetical death. I stared at her unhinged grin, stunned by the absurdity of it all. Then, despite myself, I let out a cold, sharp laugh. Well, since death is inevitable, do you also want to pick a date for me? Her face darkened instantly. She glared at me. Claire, I'm doing this for you. Why can't you see that? Oh, I see it clearly now, I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. You're not just waiting for me to die, you're trying to speed it up. I turned to Eric, who'd been silent this whole time. What about you? Do you agree with her? He wouldn't look at me. His voice was barely a whisper. She's not entirely wrong. And just like that, I felt the last bit of warmth drain from my body. This was the brother I had raised, bailed out of debt, fed and clothed along with his wife and kid? I turned toward my mother, clinging to one final thread of hope. Mom? What about you? She waved her hands quickly, her voice overly bright. Too quick, too light. Of course not, sweetheart. I'm your mother. Of course I want you to be okay. Then came the real reasons, soft and sweet like a knife under silk. Just, I'm old now. There's not much I can do for you. Your brother's still young. He has a future ahead of him. We can't expect him to sacrifice that, right? She said it like she was offering practical advice. Like it was nothing more than household logistics, not a matter of life and death. That was when I understood. To her, I was just a resource. A savings account. A backup plan. She only saw me when there was something left to take. One mistake. One mix-up. That was all it took to expose them for who they really were. They were already prepared for my death. In fact, they seemed more eager for it than I was. From that moment on, I let go, completely and permanently. There wasn't a shred of hope left for any of them. You don't have to worry, I said calmly, as if we were discussing the weather. I'm not going anywhere. I plan to live a long, beautiful life and spend every last cent on myself. Not a penny will be left behind. Vanessa let out a sharp laugh, her eyes glinting with a smug, mocking satisfaction. You think it's up to you? She sneered. What kind of cancer is it, exactly? I glanced at her, too tired to argue. Cervical, I said flatly, letting her believe what she wanted. She recoiled instantly as if I'd slapped her. Took 2 full steps back like I was contagious, her face twisted with disgust. You do know, she said, eyes narrowing, that kind of cancer is tied to certain behaviors. Then she turned to me with a sneer that practically dripped venom. All that talk about being above marriage, being too pure for kids, and yet behind closed doors, look who's really been messing around. Her face was a grotesque display of gleeful judgment, like she'd finally found something to lord over me. Honestly, her stepping back was a blessing. Her perfume, mixed with something sour I couldn't even place, had been making me nauseous. With her out of my space, the air actually felt breathable again. I wrinkled my nose slightly. She saw it and snapped. What's that look? She screamed. Get out. You're not welcome here anymore. She snatched a bottle of rubbing alcohol, popped the cap and sprayed it directly into my face. The sting hit instantly, my throat burned, I choked, eyes flooding with tears. Coughing, I shoved her back and growled, "This is my house. The one who needs to leave is you." But she stood tall, arms crossed like a queen in her castle, her voice freezing cold. You still don't get it, do you? This house. It's in your brother's name. We've been generous, letting you stay here rent-free for this long. And now you're gonna yell at me? I opened my mouth but she cut me off, firing like a machine gun. Don't give me that crap about paying for the house. In this family men make the decisions. You never married, never had kids, and now you're dying. You're just a temporary guest in this home. So why are you still here? I said nothing. Just stared at her. But in my mind, every word she spat was being burned into memory. Word for word. I would return each one in full, at the right time in the right way. She kept pacing the room like a lioness still hungry for blood. No. Even kicking you out isn't enough. We need full disclosure. Every cent in your accounts, your investments, your stocks, hell, even your company. Hand it over to your brother. Otherwise, when you die, don't expect us to deal with your body. We're not in the business of burying burdens. I gave a slow, dry laugh, my tone thick with venom. The garbage that comes out of your mouth could make motor oil blush. Eric slammed his hand on the table, clearly offended. Claire, what the hell is wrong with you? Show some respect. You think she's wrong about any of this? Donna had stayed silent, turned away from it all like a ghost. But then she turned her head slowly, not to step in, not to defend me, just to sigh, soft and resigned. Her silence said it all. I won't stop them. But I won't defend you either. And I saw the full picture, clear as day. This wasn't a spontaneous meltdown. This was premeditated. A planned looting. Ew. Vultures circling a body they thought would be cold by now. But I was still standing. And this wasn't the time for a head-on fight. Not yet. I'd lose that way. So I let my hands fall to my sides, softened my expression and put on my best wounded look. If I'm really such a burden to all of you, I said, pausing. Then I looked at each of them one by one, eyes wide, voice soft, almost sweet. Then maybe I do have a compromise. Vanessa and Eric exchanged a quick glance, like I'd just handed them a winning lottery ticket. Her eyes lit up, voice shooting up half a pitch in excitement. What plan? Come on, tell us. I shrugged, taking my time. I've decided to get married. Then I'll move out, split from this household completely. No strings, no debts. We'll be done with each other. Silence. The entire living room froze like someone had hit pause on reality. They knew I'd always been staunchly anti-marriage. Since college I'd been loud and clear. I didn't believe in it. I wanted no part in the so-called duties of family life. I saw marriage as a cage I'd never step into. Vanessa used to mock me for that any chance she got. She'd sit right in front of my mother and sneer that I was pushing 40 and still single, calling me a parasite sucking off the family while hiding behind the excuse of not believing in marriage. But once I started making money, real money, her tune changed overnight. Marriage? Total death trap, she once told me, perched on my kitchen island, munching on the imported mango strips I'd bought. Men. Can't count on 'em. If it weren't for Toby, I'd have been long gone. You're smart, Claire. Staying single is the only way to win. Look at these poor wives, bled dry and tossed aside. Back then I believed her. Now I see it clearly. That wasn't a warning. It was a strategy. She wasn't looking out for me, she was grooming me. Hoping I'd never get married so all my assets would funnel straight to her family after I was gone. The second I said the word marriage, my mother's face turned white like I'd just set fire to the kitchen. You don't even have a boyfriend. Who are you marrying? Don't go doing something reckless just to prove a point, Claire. This isn't the time. I raised an eyebrow, voice cool and casual like I was commenting on the weather. Nathan Blake. You've met him. We went to college together. Been seeing each other for years now. Figured we'd never bother with marriage. But maybe now's the perfect time. Of course, I just hope he's not too turned off by the idea of marrying a terminal patient. Nathan Blake. I met him during sophomore year. His family ran a trust and real estate investment firm. Always in a tailored suit but not the arrogant type. Smart, reliable, clean-cut. 6'1", washboard abs, jawline like a movie star. The kind of man who turned heads, and didn't need a marriage certificate to prove commitment. We'd always agreed, dating was enough. Love didn't need a contract. But now, compared to this pack of leeches I called family, Nathan felt like a breath of clean, sane air. My mom's eyes flicked back and forth. Then she muttered, "Is he the one in that black SUV? I've seen it outside a few times." Before I could respond, Vanessa sprang to her feet, practically foaming at the mouth. "You don't get to get married. That money was meant for Toby. You're planning to hand it all over to the Blakes, aren't you? Claire, you are vicious. Just go ahead and die already if you hate us that much. She was hysterical, completely unhinged. The panic in her voice was raw and real. My fury flared instantly. I was about to roll up my sleeves and give her exactly what she deserved when Eric jumped in, grabbing her arm and yanking her to the side. He whispered something fast and low into her ear. She shoved him at first, clearly resisting. But whatever he said next made her freeze. The fire in her eyes flickered, then dimmed. She gave me one last murderous glare, spun on her heel and stormed off into the bedroom, slamming the door hard behind her. I let out a slow, bitter laugh. I could see it in their eyes. They weren't giving up. They were regrouping, plotting, already drafting next steps. This wasn't over. The family war had just begun. My mother walked over to me with a syrupy smile, the kind that carried just enough warmth to mask the rot beneath it. She took my hand in hers, voice honeyed and sticky. Claire, sweetheart, Vanessa just has a sharp tongue, but she means well. Don't take it to heart. As long as you and Nathan are truly in love, I fully support the two of you. Eric chimed in right on cue, all traces of the man who'd sat by while I bled earlier wiped clean from his expression. Exactly. We got too emotional back there. Marriage isn't something you rush. You know the process. Introduce the families, pick a date, book a venue, engagement shoot. Just those steps alone take at least a year. Don't worry. We're always your biggest support system. On the surface it all sounded reasonable. Even respectful. But in my ears, it was nothing but tactical delay. Stall the wedding, stall the legal documents, stall any chance I had of locking them out of my estate. I forced a smile, something between amused and exhausted. Sure. Makes sense. Anyway, I've got some paperwork waiting at the office. I'll head out. As soon as I walked out the front door, I reached into my bag and pulled out my phone, connecting to the remote home surveillance system. Originally, I'd installed the cameras to keep an eye on Toby at night. He used to have bad dreams. Eventually, I stopped checking them. They had no idea the system still worked. The feed flickered to life. There they were, huddled together in the living room like a crisis response unit mid-emergency. Eric sat dead center on the couch, hands clasped like he was holding a shareholder meeting. We can't push her too hard. The more we press, the more suspicious she gets. We've got to keep her calm, make her feel safe. That way she'll let her guard down. Vanessa's eyes lit up like she'd been struck by genius. She slapped her thigh and shouted. Yes. She's dying anyway, we've got time. Cancer patients don't have what we have. Time. She spun to face my mother. Mom, make sure you hide all her ID cards and documents. She says she needs to go to the hospital, stall her. Whatever it takes. Who knows? Maybe if we stall long enough, nature'll take care of the rest. My mother didn't respond. Her face twisted like she'd just bitten into something rotten, but she didn't say no. She simply nodded slowly, rubbing the hem of her pants between her fingers. I just don't feel good about this, she muttered. Vanessa, meanwhile, was pacing with the self-satisfaction of a villain in a crime drama, but suddenly she stopped. Her brows furrowed. One hand flew to her lower abdomen. Eric jumped to his feet, face full of concern. You hurting again? Maybe we should take you in just to check. Vanessa rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. Are you stupid? Didn't we just agree no hospitals? It's nothing. I probably just ate something bad. A couple bathroom trips and I'll be fine. But I stared at the screen and let out a cold, knowing laugh. One of the most common symptoms of late-stage cervical cancer is intermittent abdominal pain, especially after physical stress or infection. I'm no doctor, but even I know enough to see it. Vanessa's problem was far worse than she wanted to admit. Fine. Let's play the long game. Let's see who time buries first. I narrowed my eyes at the screen and locked in on my mother. She sat stiffly, still silent, but her fingers were twitching, fidgeting. And then without a word she reached for her phone. Dialed one number. Then another. Then a third. She was looking someone up. Trying to get information. I could practically read the scribbled names and numbers on her notepad from the way the camera angled over her shoulder. Then I heard her say it. Nathan Blake. My stomach clenched. How did she know his full name? What the hell was she trying to do? My eyes sharpened, fingers frozen on the screen. This wasn't the first time they'd schemed behind my back. But this time they were aiming straight for the only part of my life I'd ever kept truly mine. They could strip my house, sabotage my name, turn my body into a target. But Nathan, my peace, the part of me that was still untouched by them? Not this time. Not 1 inch. After working up the right amount of dramatic tension, my mom finally made the call. Her eyes shimmered with tears, and her voice trembled like she was fresh out of drama school. "Is this Nathan?" "I'm Claire's mother," she said, her tone tender but tinged with a rehearsed sadness, as if she were weighing each word for maximum emotional damage. "You're a good man. But I can't live with the guilt anymore. Claire, she's been hiding something from you. She has cancer. The doctors say she only has a few months left." I sat in my office watching the surveillance footage. Her performance was Oscar-worthy. She deserved a standing ovation and maybe a Golden Globe to go with it. That's my mother. The kind of woman who can say, "It's for your own good," while packing you off to hell with a blanket and a packed lunch. But apparently her performance wasn't dramatic enough. Vanessa yanked the phone from her hands and leaned in, her voice grating like nails on a chalkboard. "Nathan, it's cervical cancer. You know what that means, right? Don't get soft-hearted now and throw your life away with hers." My mom chimed right back in, cool as a weather anchor. "If you end it now, we won't blame you. Claire lied first. She was reckless. We understand if you walk away." I clenched my jaw so tightly I thought a molar might crack. I remembered how carefully I'd once told my mother I never wanted to marry. That I wanted to live my life on my terms. Independent, dignified, free. She had looked at me with this warm, gentle smile and said, "I understand, honey. I support you. Even if you stay single forever, I won't pressure you." Thought that was love. Now I realize it was just strategy. Keeping me unmarried and unencumbered, forever the cash cow for her precious son's family. She couldn't just leave my love life alone, she had to smear it, twist it, turn my private world into something filthy and shameful. I could practically see the smugness on her face after she ended the call. "This wedding's not happening," she declared. Vanessa laughed like she just hit the jackpot. "That means the money's ours." Their laughter rang through the room. But then my phone buzzed. It was Nathan. His voice was quiet but steady. "Claire, can we meet? I want to talk face to face." I stared at the screen, frozen for a beat. A chill crept down my spine. Of course. A guy from his background? How could he possibly stick around for a woman branded terminal and promiscuous in the same breath? If this was the moment he chose to walk away, I wouldn't stop him. We met at a coffee shop we used to frequent. Our usual table by the window was still there, the afternoon sun pouring across the surface. But it didn't feel warm. Not today. I didn't order anything. Just sat there, silently rehearsing how to make a breakup sound graceful. Clean. Easy. He walked in wearing his charcoal gray coat, the one I loved. His expression was calm, unreadable. I opened my mouth to say, "Let's end this," but before I could speak he slid something across the table. A bank card. "Claire," he said, "I believe you're sick. But I don't believe a single damn thing they said about you. The only thing that hurts is that you didn't tell me yourself." His eyes locked with mine, steady and unflinching. "There's $1 million in there. Take it. I've already contacted one of the top oncology specialists in Boston. I don't care what it takes. I'll bankrupt myself if I have to. We're getting you through this." I froze. Words failed me. I thought he'd crumble under the rumors. I thought he'd walk. Instead, here he was holding out a hand while the world tried to rip me apart. This man. Goddamn, he really loves me. I was just about to ask him, "Does your mother know? Would she even accept all this?" when the sharp click-clack of high heels echoed through the cafe. A woman in a champagne-colored trench coat, her hair styled to glossy perfection, strode over to our table and sat down without invitation. Her movements were slow, deliberate, dignified. Her features bore a striking resemblance to Nathan's, about 70% the same bone structure and steel-eyed focus. No doubt. This was his mother. She placed a hard-shell LV handbag on the table with a loud thump, like she was planting a flag on a battlefield. "So you're Claire Morgan?" she said, removing her sunglasses with a crisp motion. Her gaze swept over me like a general inspecting her troops. I nodded, trying to steady my voice. "Yes. Nice to meet you." She opened the bag, pulled out a velvet jewelry box with the ease of muscle memory, then took out several thick stacks of checks. Our family's been tight on liquid cash lately due to some restructuring in our investment portfolio, she said matter-of-factly. These are the best I can put together right now. Jewelry and funds. Take them. They'll be enough to cover top-tier medical care. I blinked at her, stunned. Words failed me. Mrs. Blake, aren't you worried you'll end up losing both your money and your son? Finally asked. She smoothed back a strand of hair like I'd just asked whether the sky was blue. It's just a few million. Not my life, she said coolly, her voice touched with elegant pride. There are things in this world more important than money. And if we don't at least try to do right, then what the hell are we even here for? Something inside me cracked. This whole plan, the fake engagement, the wedding announcement, was supposed to be a jab at my leeching relatives. I never expected to be met with something so human, so kind. I whispered a thank you. Then in a quiet voice I told her everything. From the mix-up in my diagnosis, to the schemes I overheard on the home surveillance feed, to my mother calling Nathan behind my back and painting me as some dying, diseased disgrace. Mrs. Blake listened in silence, nodding occasionally. Her piercing eyes softened and I could see it, the shift from judgment to alliance. From mother-in-law to comrade. By the time I walked her to the car and thanked her again and again, I wasn't sure whether to cry or laugh. Nathan glanced over at me as I returned to the cafe. He must have caught the look still hanging on my face, part dread, part disbelief, because he gently ruffled my hair and asked, "What's wrong? You're not sick anymore, remember? Why the sad face?" I cupped my coffee mug and stared out at the sunlight stretching across the sidewalk. "No, I'm not sick," I said quietly. "But now I see them for what they really are. All of them. And cutting them off, for good, is going to be the hardest part." His expression turned serious. His voice calm and full of quiet strength. "Claire, all you have to do is say the word. I'll do whatever you need." I blinked slowly, then a wicked little idea sparked in my mind. "Do you happen to know someone," I asked, "who maybe looks like they've been through some shit? Preferably with a few priors? Big, scary, ex-military, bouncer-type energy." He paused for half a second, then shrugged. "Yeah. Actually, I know a few. You planning to make this theatrical?" "I want a show," I said, eyes gleaming. "It's time they learned. This game has a new dealer." Then without hesitation I pulled out my phone. One by one I shut down every linked credit card they'd been leeching off. And with one click I listed the house for sale. On the way back to my office, Nathan's car suddenly sputtered and died. He frowned at the dashboard. "Weird. Warning light just came on. It's probably the engine sensor acting up." With no better option we pulled into the nearest certified service center to get it checked out. It was close to lunchtime anyway, and the dealership had a small lounge with self-serve snacks. We grabbed a couple sandwiches and salads and sat in the waiting area to kill time. After lunch we were walking through the showroom when something in my peripheral vision froze me mid-step. The glossy nails. The flashy fur coat. That overly familiar silhouette. Vanessa. Only she wasn't with Eric. She was draped all over a man I didn't recognize. Tall, smug-looking, clearly not my brother. They were test-driving one luxury convertible after another. All giggles and subtle gropes. Her voice was syrupy, sickening. She practically melted into the guy's side. I didn't even hesitate, I pulled out my phone and started recording. Inside one of the convertibles, Vanessa leaned in close to him, her voice sugar-coated and sticky. "Pick whichever one you like, baby. I'll buy it. My dumb sister-in-law's about to drop dead anyway. All her money in that company. It's gonna be Toby's soon. We're about to be filthy rich." The man sighed dramatically. "Too bad we still have to sneak around." Vanessa gave him a slow, venomous smile. "Not for long. I got Eric a fat life insurance policy. One little accident, and boom, another payday. Honestly, he's more useful dead than alive." I had to clamp a hand over my mouth to keep from letting out an audible laugh. They kept flirting, playing up their disgusting charade, until the man reached out and brushed her nose with a finger. "Toby's called Eric Dad his whole life. Don't you think it's time he met his real father?" "What?" My brain stopped. "Toby isn't Eric's biological son?" Felt like someone had thrown a brick at my skull. No, 3 or 4 of them. I ducked my head, pulled on my cap, adjusted my mask and started tailing them quietly. They slipped past the showroom staff and wandered toward a back parking area where a few untagged test cars were parked. What happened next made my fingers instinctively tap the record button again. There, in the backseat of one of the cars, they went at it. Right out in the open, no shame, no hesitation. Vanessa giggled like a teenager, completely unbothered by the public setting, playing into the moment like it was foreplay for a soap opera scene. But then suddenly she stopped. Her expression twisted. She clutched her abdomen and doubled over, her face going pale. "You okay?" the man asked, panic flashing across his face. Vanessa was panting, grimacing in pain. "This is your fault," she snapped, half hitting him. "You were too rough, I'm bleeding now." I stood in the shadows, watching with cold detachment. It wasn't him. It was the cancer. Late-stage cervical cancer. Postcoital bleeding? Classic symptom. A warning sign. You tried to dump your sickness on me, Vanessa. You tried to use my death as your retirement plan. Now it's your own body that's turning against you. How poetic. I uploaded all the footage to the cloud immediately, clean angles, crisp audio, every disgusting line of dialogue. Then I categorized it, backed it up twice. The war hadn't even officially started and I already had her jugular in hand. Let her keep scheming, keep clawing for whatever scraps of my estate she thinks she'll get. Because when the time comes, I'll premiere the full family horror show, starring her. Patience, Vanessa. Your greatest performance? I've got it in full HD. And trust me, everyone's going to see it. Not long after we left the dealership, my phone rang. Vanessa. The moment I picked up, she exploded. "What the hell is wrong with you?" she screamed, voice sharp enough to crack glass. "Did your brain melt? You canceled my card. Do you have any idea how humiliating it was when it got declined at the mall?" I stared at the volume bar spiking on my screen and replied in a voice as soft as honey. "Vanessa, don't be mad. Let me finish some things at work, then I'll come home and apologize in person, okay?" My sudden humility caught her off guard. She must have thought life had finally beaten me into submission. She snorted smugly. "That's more like it. But listen, you owe me 50,000. No, 500,000. I need it to recover from the emotional damage you caused today." 500 grand? Right. About the same as the down payment on that luxury SUV she's been eyeing for months. For Vanessa. I'm definitely still the same idiot who once set your secondary credit card's autopay to unlimited. I didn't respond. Just smiled, ended the call and flipped open my calendar. Found the perfect date. Something nice and poetic for an exposure event. On that day, Nathan and I would return home, arm in arm, to announce our engagement. Before we left the house, I gave him a quick briefing. "Hey, listen. You need to act like a total jerk. Like rich, rude, arrogant. Go full villain." Nathan looked horrified. "I don't have that setting. I'm literally the most polite guy in my department." I nudged him toward the door. "Just rein it in a little. Don't go too far or you'll give my mom a stroke." We walked in like a glowing couple straight from a rom-com, me beaming, him pretending to be mildly disinterested in the whole affair. "Mom," I said sweetly, "I'm getting married. His name's Nathan. He's very rich." My mother's face went from pink to pale to a purplish rage in 5 seconds flat. I kept piling it on. I know, he's got a sharp tongue, but he's practical. And I'm lucky to be marrying into such a wealthy family." Nathan nodded on cue, his voice flat and cold. "We're not doing a wedding. Waste of time." But I told her straight up. "Any premarital assets and savings? They come with her. Clean break." My mom slapped her thigh, repeating, "How did I raise such an idiot?" like it was a chant to ward off evil. Vanessa sat in the corner, lips curled into a smug smile, clearly waiting to pounce. And right on cue she did. With a dramatic snap, she slapped a thick stack of papers onto the table. "You can marry him. But only if you sign this. Doesn't matter where you go or who you're with. Your money belongs to Toby. Every last cent. And your estate? It's his, no exceptions." So that's what all that fake kindness had been leading up to. She hadn't cooled down. She'd just been loading the chamber. I turned to glance at Nathan, half worried he'd break character. But my sweet, composed, perpetually polite Nathan reached into his bag, pulled out a heavy, stylized prop dagger from some old theater gig, and slammed it onto the coffee table. The room went dead silent. His expression twisted in a way I'd never seen before. He bellowed, "Are you out of your goddamn minds? I'm already doing charity work by marrying a cancer patient, and now you want her money too? Hell no. Her money's coming with her, and if any of you try to touch it, I'll cut off your damn hands. For a second I believed his family actually was mob-connected. Vanessa turned ghost white. My mother gasped and nearly dropped her teacup. Even Toby just stood there, frozen, eyes darting between us like he wasn't sure whether to yell, "Auntie," or call 911. Vanessa froze. For the first time her rage gave way to hesitation. Her eyes darted from the hefty metal knife glinting on the coffee table to Nathan's cold, "Don't test me" glare. She wisely backed off from the direct confrontation. Instead she shifted tactics and turned on the waterworks, screaming at me like she was auditioning for a soap opera. "Claire, you ungrateful snake. You promised you'd leave everything to Toby. What, now that you've got cancer you're going back on your word? You were just using him for end-of-life care. You should be struck by lightning." Her logic was so warped, it deserved a documentary. It was like watching a clogged sewer line argue about morals. I rolled my eyes. I didn't even bother countering her nonsense. "I've got more than enough money to pay for an entire private medical team when the time comes," I said flatly. "Why the hell would I tether my fate to someone who's actively hoping I drop dead sooner?" Vanessa trembled with rage, lips quivering. That's when my mom jumped in with her signature move, tear-soaked guilt trip theater. She flung herself toward me, sobbing like she'd just lost a child. "Claire, baby, they're your family. I'm your mother. How can you be so cruel to us?" The headache started immediately. Classic Donna, weaponizing motherhood like a sledgehammer. I was about to fake a fainting spell to end the scene when Nathan stepped up, cool as ever, and gave my mother a not-so-gentle shove that sent her flailing back onto the couch. "Try a little basic respect," he snapped. "Your daughter's about to get married. If you need someone to take care of you in old age, go cry to your son. Don't try to leech off my family. Push one more time and I swear I'll deal with both of you." I nearly burst out laughing but kept it together long enough to back him up. "Nathan's right," I said sweetly. "Vanessa said it herself. My brother's the real head of the household. I'm just a guest, remember? Not fit to make family decisions." I paused, then casually dropped the real bomb. "Oh, and by the way, we're officially engaged. This house. Already listed. Got a buyer coming in a few days, so you'll want to start packing." For half a second, silence blanketed the room. Then thud. Vanessa dropped straight to the floor, clutching a couch leg like it was a lifeline. "You try to kick me out, I swear I'll die right here," she wailed. "This house is mine. I dare you to try anything." I smiled, stepped back, and quietly sent a message from my phone. 3 minutes later, the front door exploded open with a bang. 7 or 8 massive men poured into the house like a SWAT team on parole. Tattoos snaked down their arms, necks thick as tree trunks, muscles bulging like they bench-pressed human beings for fun. One particularly terrifying guy pointed straight at me. "You Claire." I nodded. He scowled. "Then why the hell ain't this house cleared yet? We got a schedule. You stalling? We can evict fast if you know what I mean." Vanessa nearly crawled into the couch cushions. I stepped forward with a bright, polite smile. "Sorry for the delay, gentlemen. Just a few lingering tenants. Thought you might be able to help motivate them." All eyes turned to Vanessa. Every muscle-bound one of them. "You've got exactly 3 minutes to be out of my face," one of them said. "Or I'm hanging you upside down from the damn ceiling. What's it gonna be?" Vanessa shrieked and scrambled backward, screeching, "Stay away. I called the cops. I swear I called them." And then, perfect timing, the front door creaked open again. Eric walked in with Toby, just in time to see his wife clinging to a sofa leg, the room full of angry men, Nathan lighting a cigarette, and me sitting on the couch like I was watching a live taping of a Netflix crime docuseries. "Vanessa," he shouted, rushing in. 3 of the men immediately tackled him to the floor, face down, one hand behind his back, his cheek pressed to the hardwood. "Let's all calm down," he yelped. "We're family. Let's just talk." I stood up slowly, smoothing my blouse. "Eric, if you want a copy of the sale contract, I can arrange that," I said pleasantly. "But next time, make an appointment." My mom clung to the arms of one of the muscle-bound men, thrashing and shrieking like a one-woman Greek tragedy. "Murder! They're murdering us! Call the police! Help! They're trying to kill us for money!" She didn't even finish her sentence before sirens wailed just outside. The front door swung open and two uniformed officers stepped in. Nathan, calm as ever, raised a hand and gestured toward the scene. "Right on time, officers. We called you in advance. This property's been illegally occupied, and these folks are interfering with a scheduled home inspection." The cops scanned the room. Vanessa still on the floor screaming, Eric wide-eyed and dumbfounded, and the whole testosterone-heavy squad hovering like furniture movers on a mission. One officer's brow furrowed so hard it looked like it might snap off his face. And just then, of course, Toby stormed into frame, brandishing his Ultraman toy like it was a weapon. He ran straight at me and swung. "Why aren't you dead yet, you bad woman?" Before I could react, Nathan calmly stuck out a leg and sent the little gremlin flying onto the rug. Toby burst into tears. "You hit me. I'm telling my mom." Arms crossed, I looked down at him with a blank stare. My voice came out chillingly even. "Your mom has bigger problems right now. Like whether she should draft a will before her next hospital visit." Vanessa's face went chalk white. Beads of sweat rolled down her temples. One hand clutched her stomach while the other still had enough spite left for a final jab. "Stop pretending. I saw your medical report. Late-stage cervical cancer. You deserve all this." I raised an eyebrow, barely feigning interest. "Oh, might have been a clerical error. Maybe the doctor accidentally switched our reports. You should probably go get yourself checked out again." "Me? I'm in perfect health. Never had cancer." She blinked, her smug expression beginning to unravel. "What? No, you're bluffing. You're cursing me. If I find out you're lying." "Go ahead and find out," I said with a sweet, crisp smile. "You already took a picture of the report number, didn't you?" Her hands trembled as she swiped at her phone. The room fell silent, air thick like static. 1 minute passed. Then suddenly her face collapsed. Her phone slipped from her fingers and hit the floor with a loud clack. Her knees buckled and she slumped to the ground, her entire body heaving with panic. "Tony," she screamed, crawling toward my brother. "Tony, take me to the hospital. I don't want to die. I want to be admitted. Please, I don't want to die." She wailed like her soul had cracked open. Gone was the arrogant witch who'd tried to steal my life. What lay on the floor was a woman writhing in fear, stripped of dignity, begging for a lifeline. I couldn't help myself. I chuckled. "Vanessa, I miss that tough girl who used to say people with a conscience wouldn't waste money on cancer treatment. What happened to her?" Her lips were pale. She was in too much pain to answer. Eventually, with help from the police, the whole circus, Vanessa, my brother, my mother, Toby, and all their emotional baggage, was escorted out of my home. The door shut behind them, and I let out a long, slow breath. Of course, the house hadn't really been sold. Nathan and I had planned the whole thing. The listing, the inspection, the fake eviction. Every detail was staged to smoke out the parasites. Once they were gone, I quietly pulled the listing. The deed still sat right under my name, untouched. And since that day, business exploded. My client list doubled. My inbox stayed full. That feeling, clean air, clean house, clean conscience, was like having a new layer of skin. One that finally breathed. But of course, Eric and Vanessa didn't go quietly. They took to Facebook. Started spinning stories in family group chats, posting half-literate rants about how I faked cancer for sympathy, and threw out my own blood relatives in the rain. Every morning became a highlight reel of human shamelessness. They reinvented the art of slander like it was their new side hustle. But what they didn't know, I'd already screenshot everything. My lawyer's on standby. So if anyone in the peanut gallery wants to play savior and come barking up my inbox, I'll happily serve them a cease and desist. Maybe even a lawsuit for dessert. Just when I thought the chaos had finally settled, Eric showed up outside my office, on his knees. And he wasn't alone. Vanessa was right there beside him, crouched on the sidewalk like a failed extra in a street drama, while Eric held up a poster board that read, "Eric Morgan kneels for his sister Claire Morgan, just one chance to speak." People were stopping, filming, whispering. The whole stunt was clearly engineered to force my hand, to publicly shame me into showing up. Funny how things change. When they thought I had cancer, Eric's first reaction was, "Don't waste money. Accept your fate." But now that Vanessa was sick, his first instinct was, "We'll spend every cent we have. We'll fight this together." Did it hurt? Sure. For a second. But I had my armor on now. Still, I had security bring them up. The moment they walked into my office, their expressions lit up like Christmas morning. "I knew you wouldn't abandon family," Vanessa gushed, clutching Eric's arm. "Claire, you've always had such a kind heart." "Oh, I'm here to help," I said sweetly. Then, in complete silence, I reached into my desk drawer and set the little velvet bottle onto the table. The one she gave me, filled with God knows what, back when they thought I was dying. "I've been thinking a lot about what Vanessa said at the time," I mused. "She had a point, didn't she? A quick swallow, no more suffering. Skip the bills, skip the hospital. Just toss the ashes in the gutter and move on." So poetic. Eric forced a laugh, visibly squirming. "Claire, come on. No need to dwell on the past. Look, can't we just come together as a family? If you could just give us $1 million, just $1 million, to help with Vanessa's treatment." I cut him off, voice ice cold. "I don't have the money." Vanessa finally found her voice. "Didn't you just sell your house for $3 million? We're not asking for all of it. Just give us the full amount and we promise we'll never bother you again." I stared at them both, genuinely in awe of how far self-delusion could go. "Do you two even hear yourselves?" I said, voice low but slicing through the room like glass. "When you thought I was dying, you told me to skip treatment and stop wasting money. When I survived, you called me a whore for how I earned a living. But now that you need something, you're suddenly full of tears and speeches." Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. "We're just trying to stay alive." I glanced at the bottle on the desk. "And when I was trying to stay alive, you handed me this. Told me it was the responsible thing to do. Maybe now it's your turn to be responsible." Eric's face fell. "Claire, how did you become this cold?" I turned away, gently pulling open the blinds. Outside, sunlight danced across the glass buildings, and the city moved on like none of this was happening. "Cold," I repeated softly. "When you two were ready to bury me alive, did you stop to think I was your sister?" Then I turned back, calm again. "Here's what I'll do. I'm donating a sum to a cancer foundation. But it's not for you. It's for real patients. Ones who didn't spend their lives leeching off others and plotting their deaths. You two don't deserve a penny." Vanessa bolted upright, voice shaking. "You're really going to watch me die?" I leaned back into my chair, hands clasped. "No. I'm going to remember how you watched me almost die, and did nothing." She opened her mouth but no words came. Eric spoke in a whisper. "What do we do now?" I waved a hand dismissively. "Ask your son. You put all your faith in him. Let him carry your legacy." At that moment Nathan walked in, calm as ever, a folder in hand. He placed it on my desk with a satisfying thud. "Restraining order's been filed," he said, voice flat. "If the judge signs off, next time you show up here, either of you, you'll be in violation. That's jail time." Eric went gray. Vanessa's composure finally cracked. "You cold-blooded monsters," she screamed. "You'll get what's coming. You'll pay for this." Nathan just gave a low chuckle. "If karma existed, you'd be 6 feet under by now." I stood and smiled, soft and clear. "We're done here. See yourselves out." Security escorted them to the door. Vanessa turned, screaming one last time. "We're your family." I smiled. "Not anymore. I had the paperwork notarized weeks ago. We're legally strangers now." The door slammed behind them. And with that, silence. The kind that doesn't need explaining. The kind that tastes like closure. The kind that feels like peace. And I finally laid the old me to rest, right there on the other side of that door. After everything, the chaos, the betrayal, the staged redemption arcs, I decided to give them a final act. Not of forgiveness but of reckoning. A curtain call so they'd have no more illusions about who I was or what I owed them. I reached out to Eric. Said I was willing to meet. We sat at the coffee shop across from my building. He looked worn down, like a man who'd lost everything but still clung to hope, like a gambler waiting on one last miracle. "Claire," he croaked, "Vanessa's still in the hospital. The doctors say, it's not looking good." I nodded. I heard. He gave me a brittle smile, waiting for the next line in the script he thought I'd deliver. The one where I'd soften, where I'd offer money, comfort, grace. Instead, I pulled out an envelope and slid it across the table. "Here's a copy of my updated will." He blinked, opened it, scanned the first few lines, and his face turned sheet white. "You're donating everything?" His voice shook. I smiled. Every cent. I've already arranged for the people who actually stood by me to be taken care of. The rest? Going to women who deserve a second chance, who were never given one by the people who were supposed to love them. You're insane, he muttered. You're my sister. I tilted my head. Were you acting like my brother when I was sick and you told me to give up? When you asked for my money like it was your inheritance before I was even gone? He had no answer. Then he slammed his hand on the table. You're going to grow old alone, you know that? No one to take care of you. No one left. I sipped my coffee. I have money. I'll buy care. I'll choose who's around me. That's better than growing old with people praying I'd die sooner. He sat back stunned. I stood, pulling my coat over my shoulders. Oh, and by the way, I'm starting a foundation. For women who've been used, guilt, manipulated in the name of family. It'll fund their dreams. Their independence. Their escape. I turned to leave, then paused. Vanessa's illness? That's your problem. Not mine. And one more thing. Check Toby's paternity. You might want to see if your legacy was ever yours to begin with. I left him sitting there, the shadow of a man who'd finally run out of excuses. Later that day, I had a bouquet of flowers delivered to Vanessa's hospital room, along with the phone that held the video footage of her cheating. Eric found it while arranging the flowers. At first he probably thought I'd hidden a bank card inside. What he got instead was a crystal-clear recording of Vanessa in a luxury car, draped over another man, whispering about insurance fraud and murder. He stared at the screen like he was watching the world end in slow motion. Then, without a word, he slapped her across the face. Vanessa looked up, startled. When she saw what was playing, her composure cracked. I was drunk, Eric. I didn't mean it. That man forced himself on me. She launched into full performance mode, tears and promises, swearing she'd change, swearing she'd be the perfect wife. But Eric just pulled out a folded piece of paper and dropped it on her blanket. You wanted a divorce. Let's make it official. The document was a draft settlement. No assets, full custody of Toby, nothing left behind. Vanessa stared at it like it might bite her. I stepped out from the corner where I'd been watching the whole thing. Wow, I said, smiling. Vanessa, turns out you really are sick, just not the kind doctors can fix. She lunged at me, feral. You ruined me, Claire. I hope you die in agony. I stepped back. You lay a hand on me in your current state, I'll have the cops here in 3 minutes. She slipped, pulling her foreline as she collapsed on the floor, writhing in pain. Eric didn't move. Didn't even call the nurse. I must have been blind, he said coldly. And I watched quietly as the wreckage of their own making swallowed them whole. It didn't take long for the paternity test results to come in. Toby wasn't Eric's son. Not even close. He was sent to live with his biological father, who had a wife and kids of his own and wanted nothing to do with him. Within a week, Toby was in a cramped house with a stepmother who didn't hide her resentment, surrounded by chores, curfews, and rules. The world of amusement parks, designer toys, and private school dissolved overnight, ripped out like a fairy tale ending mid-page. As for my mother, she didn't last long either. After seeing Vanessa rushed into emergency care that night, something in her broke. The doctors said it was a stroke compounded by heart issues. I think it was a lifetime of scheming finally catching up with her. Her body simply chose not to keep going. I honored her wishes. Cremation, no headstone, no ceremony. She once said, "Don't let me take up space after I'm gone. Don't be a burden." For once, I did exactly what she asked. Vanessa passed not long after. Her condition declined rapidly. The court blamed Eric for delaying her treatment. He was charged with negligence and received a suspended sentence. He didn't protest. Just signed the papers, head down, as if the silence was a relief. Last I heard, he moved to a tiny town upstate. No one visits. No one talks about him. He just disappeared. Their house was sold. Their photos burned. Their accounts wiped. By the time I turned 40, the story was over. It wasn't cruelty. It was clarity. Some people wear the word family like a mask. Peel it off and there's nothing underneath but hunger. So no, I didn't leave anything to blood. My estate is now set up to fund a women's foundation. One that helps women like me, who learn that not every home is a safe one, and not every relative deserves a second chance. My money will build futures. Not graves.